All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Club Pro Chatter, Season 4, Episode 7. Sorry we took such a long break, but we had some stuff going on in our lives. We were going to do one last week, but Scotty and I were in a bad place, Scott, and I know you can back me up on this. For kind of the same reason, but different reasons. We were at the Section Championship, and both of us were coming in playing some of the best golf of our life. Is that fair to say, Scott?
I think that would be a fair assessment. Yes.
I know me for sure, because I can speak for myself. That was some of the best stretch of golf I've ever played, and I had high hopes for the Section Championship. The top 20 was a big goal for me to try to get into Club Champions, and I laid an egg on day 2. And Scott, go ahead, tell us about your life in that.
That wasn't good. Yeah, but I would say I was in a darker spot than you.
Because you laid your egg on day one.
Yeah. It was not good. And I do have to thank you for pulling me out of the gutter and letting me sit on your tailgate for about 25 minutes, and we could chat about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that there are more important things than a golf tournament. And obviously for me, I don't know, I've looked at a lot of things, and both of us, I think, would agree that hands down, it's the most important event that we play in, and it's got the most at stake. And I think we just need to view it as another Pro-Am round or, whatever it is. So I think that I probably put too much pressure on myself, and you were playing great too. And when your expectations are high, which I think both of ours were coming into the event because we were playing well, sometimes when you don't meet those expectations, it's a real punch to the gut. So I think it was a great event overall, other than my play and your play day 2. Yet again, you nipped me by 1.
That's right.
And I know that you're keeping tabs on that, so really looking forward to discussing that. But it was a fun week. I look forward to the week every year, and I'm looking forward to Wilderness at Fortune Bay next year.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Section Championship and our experiences and what went on there, and maybe we'll bring Tone in because he got to watch a lot of that firsthand. But again, that's Scott McDonald, Greg Snow. I'm coming to you from the Olivia Golf Club. Scott, are you from the house in Alexandria?
I'm from the house. Julie's got a little ER training this morning. Every year she's got like a 3-day, it's very important, that training that you get when you work in the ER. So she's got that for the next 3 days. I'm at home. School doesn't start up for us yet until next week. So this is the last week for the kids at home. So it's been a great week of weather, so they've been soaking it up.
Scott, I would have to say that my apology is probably the same as yours. I don't know that there's going to be much different, but we did take a 2-month break here. And so that is an apology. We're busy. Everybody's busy. You're not as busy as the rest of us because your golf game was going so well. I was joking at all the events. Are you going to start working? That's how well you were playing. I couldn't catch you, and you developed a big lead on me. I think it was 6-3-1 at one point. But since I nipped you at the Section Championship, it's now 6-5-1 because that was worth double points.
How is that worth double points?
Because there's 2 rounds.
Oh, so we're not going to go with you beat me round 1 and I beat you round 2?
No. And I didn't set the ground rules on this earlier, which I should have.
Yeah, you're making it up.
But it was worth like 2 wins if you nip somebody. Neither of us should be proud. I mean, what did we finish? 12 over and 13 over? Or was it worse than that?
No, it was that. Yeah.
It was even worse for me, Scotty. I was cruising along on that back nine. I was the par champion of the last round, knowing that I had 2 things to play for: State Open and to beat you. And my playing partners, they caught wind because Luke Benoit and you are co-workers and best of friends. And so he was engaged in this as well. And so we were having some fun with it. And I proceeded to make one of the worst doubles in America, looked up at Luke and said, I got a par the last to beat Scotty. And of course, drove it through the fairway into that bunker. And I was like, I'm in trouble. And luckily I escaped out a 60-foot par or birdie putt, legged it down there to a couple feet and made it to beat you. It was a big moment, Scott.
Well, I'm glad that I can keep you and Warro motivated. Warro and I had a little since we were in the morning wave, had a little bet on lunch, and Jack shot 69. Yeah, he played great. And I gladly bought the China Panda, or not the China Panda.
Panda Express.
Panda Express, his favorite place. And so it's good that I can, even in misery, I can provide you guys as a little bit of motivation just to kick a horse when he's down.
That's right. All right. So did you have any other apologies?
Yes, I do.
Oh, fire away.
I have an apology, and depending on who listens to this, they'll understand it. And I know you do firsthand. Is my apology is for all the Pro-Am team wins this year by my squads, because it is not fun being a past tournament committee chair and a subcommittee member, and winning team Pro-Ams is like, it's fun for your team, but it's the worst thing for the pro, because all of us look, well, you're winning a lot of Pro-Ams. And I won, what did we win? Le Sueur, and we won Faribault, my Southern Minnesota team. Granted, I grew up in Faribault, so we know that golf course like the back of our hands. And we tied with you at Geneva. Right.
We got the win, though, because we got the hardest handicap hole.
No, it was a tie.
No.
But I know that Tone joked with John, like, hey, do we have to talk to Scott about his Pro-Am team?
Scott, can I interject your apology? Tell me the makeup of your three teams. They were all different AMs, were they not?
A few similar. So the team that I play with in the tape mark that sponsors are all two guys from Faribault that I grew up with, and one guy that lives in down in Burnsville. And we actually think he's over in Prior Lake. Anyways, so we play Le Sueur every year because that's right in their backyard, and we play Faribault because that's where we grew up. So Le Sueur was Josh, Trevor Matthews, Bud Cosin, and who was our fourth? Oh, Ben Hauge, who works for us at Ripstick. And Ben played at Gustavus, so he knows Le Sueur. That was our team. Then at Faribault, it was fivesomes again. Myself, Josh, Trevor, Bud, and then Ross Fuchs, who works at Second Swing, also from Faribault. Becker usually plays with us, but Becker didn't. And then up at...
you for sure went to one if you had Becker.
Becker's been... Yeah, Becker's been playing great this year, and his handicap's lower than ever.
That's right. His handicap at the beginning of the year was really low, and therefore he came back. I bet that handicap's bounced back a little because he didn't have some great Pro-Ams earlier in the year, correct?
Yeah, but he's still lower than when Becker first started playing Pro-Ams with me, he was a 17 at Craigan's course. And now I think this year
Wasn't he in 11?
He was lower than ever, and he was dead last net. So that's when you know your handicap's legit. So then at Geneva, it was myself, my buddy Jake Cruz, who the Cruz family from Wilmer, who plays with me in a few events every year. Nick Amborn from Minnewaska, and then our last was Chris Buckingham. Brett and Brett's dad. And so a lot of difference in the teams. Josh and Trevor play with me probably 3 a year, and those are the 3. And so sorry for all the wins.
Scott, I have to say, as a guy that was on that committee with you, and we worked hard at this, that's really the goal, is to have different players. And I know I bring my brother-in-law a lot to someone, and he was one of the ones way back when that he said, I'll play in anything. And I bring Walt Parsons, who I bring him a lot. And he was one that said, hey, I want to bring, but I try to mix it up with all our members, and I try to bring a lot more. And even their understanding of, okay, I can't play in all of them. I got to play in I can't, you have other people that want to play. There's many pros out there that don't have that luxury that you and I do. that we have a lot of people to pick from. So I actually applaud you. Yes, we're looking at you a little bit, but I applaud the fact that you try to mix it up and do that. And I think we have some other pros out there that are starting to see that are saying, you know what, I need to bring different guys and different players. And if you do well that way, then we know, Scotty, that Geneva, you know as well as I do, that the fact that you and I played well was probably what really carried our teams, because it was a one gross, one net, and you have to have natural birdies. And I think I had 5 of them. No, I had 4. That's right. You had 5 or 6, didn't you?
I had 6 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a big deal. And in a lot of these, when it's 2 net, the pro doesn't really matter. You know, the AMs are getting pars on their bumps and the pro isn't as big of a deal. But in those and the scores were crazy low. It was only 13 under that, I'll give it to you, tied for the win.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I got my air quotes. It wasn't a tie.
You're right. And I will say, I think in the 3 events that I've won this year as a team or tied for first, I think I shot 68, 69, 69. So there is something there as well, knowing that you've got someone that's, I mean, you know it, if you're playing well in a pro-am, you're an asset, because people know, hey, he's going to make his par. He might bogey 2 or 3 holes, which is a nice thing to think about as an AM, knowing in the back pocket, the worst you're going to get is a par out of your pro. Yeah.
That the 3 other guys, if it's a foursome, you only have to really create 1 ball. So,
yep.
Well, that's a fair apology, Scott. I'm okay with that. I just wanted to apologize for us being off the air for so long. We really didn't give a lot of effort at it. And the fact that, you know, the crisscrossing of lives was difficult. And I have another show that I do that also took the same 2 months off. And I haven't touched the club for a week, Scott. I don't know about you, but we had our club championship here. And since the section champion, it's 1 week from our last debacle, mine in particular, when I 5-putted on number 2, is that I haven't touched the club. And that's, you know, just life is busy. Now life will slow down. We can maybe add a few. Are you coming to New Ulm? Have you decided yet?
Yeah. After the showing at the section championship, I decided I'm playing everything down the stretch.
Okay. So 6-5-1. And now I have a chance to kind of come back. I really can't believe I'm this close. Everybody can see on the points list and the money list, I'm not even close to the player that you are. So I just want you to know that. I want you to keep that in your mind.
It's really motivating me down this stretch.
Well, you should blow me out. It should be 10-5-1 by the end. But right now it's 6-5-1. And I got a good feeling about New Ulm, because I actually played a practice round there this year when I couldn't play at LeSueur. Remember that debacle?
Yes, I do. We talked about it in the last podcast. One thing I want us to do, just to bridge the gap from the last podcast, we did some predictions from the Luther Head Pro Championship.
Yes.
And you had Roland Campbell Sorensen. Your point totals were 20, 23, 23. I had Hemans, Chili, and Win 14, 16, 20. Another win for you. And by the way, in our head-to-head that day, you beat me again by 1 shot. I think all of your victories this year have been by 1 shot, except for maybe up at Craigan's, you thumped me pretty good.
Yeah, you didn't have a good showing up there. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Scott. I do appreciate that. And the fact that we came down to that last hole. Remember, I hit that driver that was about 3 feet off the ground?
Yes, I do.
And it was a big steering drive, because I knew I had a 1-shot lead and I had to, we were out of the money. We were both terrible for the most part. Me in particular on the hole before, because I think you birdied 6 or 17 and I bogeyed it.
Correct.
Because I had a substantial lead on you, and then that really made things go sideways for me. So I got to figure out the 17th hole. It sounds like it's happened in a bunch of events. It just happened to me up at the section championship. So, all right, let's bring Kaylee Ekstrom in and let's get our state of the section and some things that are going on. Kaylee, take it away.
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to bring in Tone as well, because last week,
bring the toner in.
We announced something pretty fun for the CRMC points race. And so I can kind of have Tone talk about it a little bit, but the inaugural CRMC championship will be up at Craigan's on August 22nd through the 28th in 2022. So we have some fun things going on with that event.
Yeah, so we were fortunate to kind of partner with Craigan's, Jack Warrow and his team up there, and to have this new opportunity to present to our members to, give an opportunity to play in the PGA Tour Canada event next year. So there are 6 events that basically you can earn points in. Our first event was actually the Section Championship last week, and it's a wraparound season. So the next one is going to be the Luther Tour Championship, and then it's all events in 2022. Twin Cities Open, Tate Mark, and State Open. So the full list is online, but basically the top 25 in the points race after the State Open next year will be in a 18-hole kind of qualifying event. Then the top 9 from that qualifying event will move on to Craigan's to compete for the 1 spot. So it's kind of a multi-shootout kind of tournament, and then the one player who claims victory gets to play in the event. So pretty excited. In addition to that spot, we're actually also going to give an exemption to our State Open winner. So we'll hopefully drive some participation for that and just a lot of interest. So excited for these opportunities.
I love the fact that we're beefing up that State Open. That is awesome. Great move by you, Tone, and the team, and to move forward with that. Have you seen the construction pictures, you guys?
Oh yeah,
Up at Craigan's.
It looks great. I get the updates from Jack all the time, and I think it's going to be phenomenal when it's finished.
They are they're on track to do some things up there that it's going to blow the other place out of the water if they don't catch up. And this adds to it. So good work, Tone, to you and your team. And I got to ask Scotty why I wasn't up on the leaderboard of the points list. Did you get asked that by anybody?
I was just going to ask where we were at on the points list. I don't think we were.
I 5-putted number 2. It was over at that point.
The good news is we've got plenty more events to get points in. But yeah.
I'm signed up for Midland Hills. Are you, Scotty?
I will be, yeah.
We'll get signed up, all right? Kaylee, what else you got for us?
Yeah, so our Bad Pants Open is coming up here in September on the 14th. We have about 30 teams. We're excited. Hopefully our Minnesota Special Olympic athletes will be able to join us. We're going to have a couple fun things in the morning, a 1 p.m. shotgun start, and should be a good day.
Yeah, I played in that once. I still have a young gentleman that contacts me all the time from that. They're so excited about it. He's like, are you playing on the 14th? As you guys know, that's County Commissioner Day for me, so it makes it very difficult. But I am going to be donating something to the cause. And I think Ian Leonard, is he still involved in this?
Yep, he is. He'll be there.
So
what
Scotty,
year is this? What year
that?
is this of the Bad Pants? What year is this? 14th year.
Yep.
Jeez. On September 14th.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
Scott, you own a lot of Bad Pants.
Yeah. They're deep buried in the closet. I only bring them out when I really need to. But no, I've never played in the event, but I've always donated. For some reason, I think it's the Southview Pro-Am that's always on the same day. For some reason, they double book it. So
is that happening again this year?
I'm not positive. I'd have to look.
Okay. I don't get invited to that one. So, so that's, I always play bad there. So it makes sense. Okay. The Bad Pants Open, big fundraiser for the section. And I think JD, it started way back. I think when JD was the pro at Medina, correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's kind of come full circle now with JD helping run the thing and, being a leader in our section. And I'm looking forward to the results of that and seeing what happens there. But I know those Special Olympic athletes, I know for a fact that they love it.
Yeah. And we'll have some fun things going out on social. So pay attention on September 14th.
Kaylee, anything else for us?
Yeah, last, I want to be sure that I can get this right, but we have a PGA Junior League team competing from PC Twin Cities this weekend at the Ridge Golf Club against teams from Colorado, Iowa, and Nebraska. And so from there, hopefully they can qualify for the National Car Rental PGA Junior League Championship in Arizona in October. So
who's the captain of that team? Do you or Tone know?
I can get that info, but we're pretty excited for, this team and who's coming up.
Yeah, it's now getting to the point in this junior league, Scott, where we're going to start seeing some of those kids in the college tournaments and maybe even playing on and they'll correlate this, that he was a junior league champion. Tone, do you have who that is?
Yeah, so it's David Branstad.
All right.
Yeah, up at the TPC.
At TPC, yep.
That's awesome.
This is I think their team has been strong the last couple of years, right? They've made it to nationals, correct?
Yeah, they have before.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, when this started, Greg, we still remember this because we're like fossils. But what was it, probably 5-6 years ago, and now look at how much it's grown, and the national championship, it's a big deal.
Wasn't the late Jay Norman, one of the first to kind of bring one of his teams?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. I thought I saw him on TV or his team on TV, and they do. Is this the one they broadcast, Kaylee, or would that be the next? It's the next stage, right? The national one that's broadcasted.
Right.
Yeah, it's the final one.
Okay, so they have to win this, or do they got to finish top 2 or 3, or?
They got to win this one.
Got to win it.
Yep.
Okay, they really narrow it down then.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I know that junior league stuff kind of, hate to say it, but favors the cities a little bit more. It's tougher for us here out on the outskirts, especially with the kids that, at my club, they're all in all these different sports. I mean, football started 4 weeks ago. I don't really see the kids anymore out here on the course, and volleyball started, so I don't see any of the gals. And I know that it kind of seems tailored a little bit more to the bigger cities, but it's just great that this is it's been an awesome thing, Scotty. Has Minnewaska tried this up that area? Got a lot of golfers up there.
We're gonna try it next year now with the foundation and how many we could have multiple teams. So it's just for us, as kind of you alluded to, is getting surrounding communities to have teams, so you have kind of like a network there. But between Alexandria and Wilmer's a ways away, but you could probably get a couple of teams. And to go along with this, I took my girls to their first ever DCP drive chip putt up in Moorhead Village Green, and it was awesome to see. This is the first year they could do it. Catherine was great. The girls loved it. Beatrice won the drive portion against a bunch of 9-year-olds, and Amelia made her first putt, and it was the biggest smile I've ever seen her have doing something sports wise. So it was a lot of fun. So I know those are all wrapped up. Our regionals, when are regionals for that? Kaylee, putting you on the spot, like the big regional in Colorado, is that coming up?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure exactly on what date, but
you can look that up, Kaylee, while we're talking about the section championship, if you have a moment.
For sure.
All right, good stuff, you guys. That's awesome. Thank you, Kaylee. Let's move on to the section champ. Unless you got any more for us.
Nope, that was it.
All right, let's move on to the section championship review. You kind of everybody, you got me and Scotty's. Tone, you can hang with us too. We probably got questions for you because you stayed with the whole thing. Scotty and I were in misery.
Does Tone have any apologies for any hole locations?
Oh. Tone?
He's awful quiet.
I don't know how to answer this question.
Okay, that's fair. Scott, that I parred the hole.
There was many pars, there was many birdies.
Tone, in your defense, it was the third most birdied hole of that day. The third.
I think that's a lie.
Look it up. Look up the stats. Kaylee, another thing for you to look up. It was the third most birdied hole of the day. And I know I watched 2 people have some carnage on it, and I felt horrible. But if you hit it in the right spot and played it correctly, it was okay.
Scott, I watched him. He, from the back of the green, was able to keep it on the green.
That's right.
Yeah, because I ran to mark it.
Oh, it was going? It was still moving? That's illegal.
Well, are you breaking rules now?
Are you admitting that you cheated?
No, I ran to get over there when it stopped. I marked it, and when I looked at the putt from behind the ball mark, I almost tumbled down the hill. And I'm pretty spry and well balanced. But Greg, you are somewhat correct. Tied for the third most.
That's right. Remember, I don't deal with ties. It was a hard hole, and it was the third most birdied hole. Tone, you do not have to apologize for it. It was a hard pin. And I deal with this at my golf course, Scott. You remember this. I have people come up and go, well, what was with that pin was 3 feet from the edge. And I go, well, you had the fringe to stop it. What's the big deal here? I don't understand what the problem is. You know, and you play the same golf course here 1 million times. Wouldn't you want to see pins that you don't normally see? And typically after I say that, they go, yeah, you're right. You know, typically some others, they just want to stay in their misery and whatnot. But I think that it's okay to be mad about some stuff, but I think in the long run, you got to kind of look past that and go, it's okay. So Tone, I'm on your side. Scotty, he can be on whatever side he wants.
No, I'm not on any side. I totally agree with everything you've just said, but I just am asking Tone if he wants to say anything. And I've played in as many events that Tone set up as any, and there's only been 2 pins that I've ever questioned of him, and I'll leave it at that. But I will say this: the guy that won the section championship did not play that hole well the first day.
That's right.
He was not very happy. I know people that were in the group with him, and he battled through it. He ended up winning, and it meant a lot to him. Everything that I heard about Jeff and how happy he was for that win. And, you know, he's a great player. He's been one of the best players in the section for 10 plus years. So hats off to him. And I shot him a text. I said, way to battle through that adversity, because some people would let that just stew and just, you couldn't get past it, but he got past it and he won the tournament. So to look on the other side, play devil's advocate, he had to play that hole and he didn't play it well, battled through it and still won the event. So
I want to piggyback on that for a second. I think that Jeff's mental state is better than almost anybody's right now. He has battled some adversity that people don't even know about in his own personal life that has really given him a great perspective. And he's probably gonna be mad at me for sharing this, but that he's really had to focus harder, if you will, or the other way to look at it is that he's able to let things go. You know, you and I talked about sitting on the tailgate and saying, you know, it's okay that we stunk today, you know, but Jeff has been able to keep focus on his game, but yet great perspective of it's okay that I took an 8. I think he took an 8 on that hole.
Yeah.
Correct?
I think it was a 7.
Was it a 7?
I think it was a 7.
Oh yeah, because he went for the green in 2. That's right. So he was down in the gully on his second shot. So anyways, my point being is that I also texted Jeff and he texted right back to me and he said, thanks, Chief, means a lot to me. To God be the glory. I mean, he's just gained a different perspective on life, on golf. And I don't know that was always the case. And I want to get there. And Scott, you and I have talked a lot about the mental side of golf and how it changed your game. And I think that for everybody, that's one thing. If you have a chance to sit down and chat with Jeff about it, just sit and listen and watch how his perspective of all those things, he didn't let that tough pin or whatever you want to call it end his section tournament, which I think many others did. And I think it's a great testament to him to forge through and to, you know, Derek Holmes was coming at him. Chili was coming at him pretty hard. Tone, when did you pick up with the groups? How late did you kind of get out there?
I was there with them kind of when they got to hole 11, and I kind of followed the last few groups in. And so I was there kind of throughout all the action.
So give us a little vibe of, you don't have a rooting interest. You're not allowed to. You're kind of watching it. Give us a vibe for what was going on in the group. Could you tell if somebody was playing better than others, or, I mean, just talk us through a little bit about when you picked up on the group.
Yeah. I mean, it was, you know, at that point, I think Chili was up a few, you know, so I think that, you know, obviously he had his Chaska crew with him. So there was kind of a vibe there of, you know, he's pulling through it. And then, And then Jeff started to kind of make that move. And I'm trying to remember if he was Jeff in the last group. I couldn't remember if he was in the last group or with Chile. I think he was.
God,
with
do you know?
He was with Chile.
He was with Chile. Yeah. So then on 14, the par 3, there was kind of a shift when Chile hit, I think, him's approaching the bunker and struggled to kind of, I think he made bogey, and I think Jeff made par. And then there was kind of a shift there. And, but really they kind of battled it out until, that last kind of hole. I think, Jeff was able to get a good up and down for par. And Chile just kind of short-sided himself in that bunker, and the pin was in the front left. And so you kind of wanted to get it on the green, and I think he bogeyed or doubled. And then that was kind of it. I mean, Derek had, but there was still, like, even after Jeff made that putt, Derek had a chance. He had a birdie 18 to tie Jeff, and we thought, well, there could be a playoff. And he hits his approach within, 12, 15 feet and just misses. So, I mean, it was exciting. It was a lot of kind of back and forth between all these players, and excited for the crew that's going to nationals. I think, be a good showing.
How big was the gallery around those last groups, Tone? Was there 50 people there?
No, I wouldn't say there was that many.
Okay.
On the last hole, I think that's where most people were, and there was a lot of players that stuck around. Maybe there at the last hole, there was around that many. But
Someday
kind of
I'm going
following
to
the
play well
groups.
enough to hang around and watch the last bit. But when you're 2 hours out in front of it and you shoot, what did I shoot, Scott? Was it 80?
Mm-hmm.
See, I blocked it out. Was it 80?
Yeah, it was 80.
So the smirk on your face makes me want to punch you right now.
I'm just trying to smile thinking about this event. And by the way, Jeff made 8 on that hole, not 7.
Oh, Tone, he's a fact checker. I love that.
So,
well, even better. Go ahead, Scott.
I will say this, Jeff, and I'm not saying anything that he would disagree with, but he hasn't had a great year. He lost in the match play early. I think he missed the cut at the tape mark, almost missed the cut at the state open. So, he's played well in pro-ams, but that's the thing is, our pro-ams are a big part of our tournament season, but there's no player of the year points, which I've always thought should be a discussion, because look at some of these events, how big they've gotten now. But, so he's played well in those, and then comes and grinds it out for 2 days and wins arguably the biggest event of the year. So hats off to him. I mean, hats off to all those guys. Yeah. Derek Holmes, Eric Rowland, Eric Childs, Snyder, our buddy Jesse Nelson, Thomas Campbell in his first ever section champ gets through. That's a pretty neat accomplishment. And then Stendhal and Shafransky. Stendhal's had an awesome year, and Grant, I think, making it back there. So it's 9 guys, Derek obviously being exempt, but 9 guys that are really, really good players. No, I wouldn't say there's any surprises in the top 9. Would you, Greg?
No, none.
All names that you'd expect, if you had to pick 15 or 20 names, all of those names would be in it, right?
Yeah, it wasn't like there's a Greg Snow in the 9th where people go, whoa, he's never been there. What happened, and I played in a lot of these, as you have, Scotty, but if you were in there, there'd be no surprise. But yeah, I would say of those top 9 guys, you'd sit there and go, yep. And I hate to say it, that's kind of what we want, right? Moving forward. And not that the surprise, if somebody came in there, like, for example, Roger Fahrenkrug was playing great. He maybe had his best tournament through 27 holes that he's had in a long time. And Raj and I are we're contemporaries. We played in a lot of assistant events together, and then moved on into, the PGA ranks together. And Raj was playing great. I think he was 1 over through 27 holes. Scott, you have that in there. So that's an example of if Raj has never made it through. And if he had, you'd sit there and go, wow, that's awesome to see Raj, kind of forge through after all those years and do it. But at this point, with those 9 guys, what did shock me, I would say, of all, is that Derek Holmes has hardly played this year. He played early in the year, but then he had a lot of, and I talked to him at Rum River a little bit about it, kind of put the needle into him of, where have you been? and we've talked about his work balance life and all those things. And so he just rises to the occasion on those big events, Scotty. And there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, he's really changed a lot the last couple of years, and we talked about it on other episodes. And I played with him the first day, and he was solid. And his approach is a lot different than it used to be. And yeah, I mean, the fact that he had a putt to tie for first, I mean, he's going back. It's and once, I mean, it's got to be easier knowing that you've made it through to a PGA championship, going back to that National Club Pro and knowing what it takes. And, we've got 3 guys now in that group of 9 with Brent, Jeff, and Derek that have played in PGAs. So yeah, it's great. And that's just a testament to Stone Ridge, great host, great tournament venue. The cream kind of rises to the top at a venue like that. And clearly it did. And the scores were about what I think they typically would be. Actually, usually even par gets into a playoff or in, and this year it took 1 under to go to nationals. So,
Tone, what was the playoff scenario? Would that have been back to 18, or was it start on 1?
Yeah, if it was for the championship, we would have went back to 18. Trying to keep everybody there watching.
Oh, sure.
But all the other playoffs would have been starting on 1 and just keep going.
Did we have any other playoffs?
Yeah, we had a playoff between Don Barry, Corey Johnson for the alternate positions. Just
first alternate,
first and second.
Okay, was there 5 alternates? Is that what you were trying to get to? I can't remember. Was it 4 or was it just 1?
No, it was 5.
5 alternate. Okay, so the other, they had to get their order.
Yeah, we need to know an alternate order. Yeah,
that's right. Scotty, how would you feel about playing in an alternate spot?
I've been there.
Yeah, tell me about that. What's the emotion of that? I couldn't even imagine, to be honest.
Well, the 1 year at Medina, it was like a 5-person playoff for third alternate, not even second. So you're thinking, well, if I would have got 2 shots better, I'd be in there. So you got to go out and kind of regroup. And I didn't get through on that one. The other one was at Bemidji, and I had a putt to get in to if I made a putt on 18, which was about a 20-footer, I was in the tournament, and I missed it. So I was in I think again for first and second alternate, or I think it was second alternate, but the first alternate one, I think it was Benoit that got it. He didn't use it. So Izzy beat Chris Peterson and I in the spot for second alternate, and Izzy ended up going. So that was even worse, not winning that playoff and then getting kicked. But my first year ever was probably the most epic because I didn't even know what the section championship was. I became a Class A member, and lo and behold, it was at Wilderness at Fortune Bay, which is where we're going back to. And I played the final round with Don Barry and Dale Jones, and I'd never played with Don Barry before. And I was like a nobody back then. And
you could take off the back then.
Yeah. So anyways, so I get in, and Benoit and I stayed in a room together. He had played in one before me, and he said, I think you're in a playoff to go to nationals. And it was a 3-person playoff for 2 spots. It was myself, Ryan Hanford, and Mike Barge, I think. And Bargy birdied the first hole at Wilderness, which is a par 5. So he got through. So then it's me and Hanford, our current president, go to number 2, which is a par 4. There's a bunker there, and it's kind of uphill. And I think I ended up winning with 4 and didn't even realize how big of a deal it was until I went to nationals the next year. So it's, I've been in a couple of them. And then that year, Don and Jeff actually tied for first, and Jeff beat Don. And that might have been Jeff's first section championship, or his last one that he's won. Because I know he said something that it was 10 years since he's won it, right, Tone?
Mm-hmm.
And this is third, correct?
I thought it's third or fourth.
Okay. Hey, Tone, do all the playoffs run concurrently? Like if the championship went back to 18, would they run at the same time as the people who are on number 1?
Yeah, if they would, want to we would try to get everybody, if we had to play up for the championship, we always have to halt like all the award stuff. So I try to get everybody done so we kind of know. But if that playoff for the alternate would keep going, they would just, you don't know how long it went. I think Don and Corey's went for 3 holes. So
could be another hour.
I've had playoffs for other things, like State Open. We had one this year that was like 6 holes, and last year we had one that was like 7 holes. So you kind of just want to get them going because you never know. You never know what could happen.
Thank goodness we don't pay you hourly. Right?
A lot of hours.
So yeah, the last time Jeff won it was Wilderness of Fortune Bay 2010. So it's actually been 11 years since he's won it. So that's where, and you think he's won it in the last 11 years, right, Greg? If I would have said, hey, you would have said for sure he's won it since in the last 11 years.
Name 5 guys who've won in the last 10 years, and he would be boom. It would be something that I would have said immediately for sure.
Yes. So yeah, great event, Tone. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the weather on Tuesday, everything was handled well. The crew at Stone Ridge did a great job getting the golf course ready and not having any, where we had to wrap up round 1 on day 2 is always nice, and could do it as scheduled. That worked out great. So thanks to Stone Ridge and you guys, Tone. I know it's a long couple of days. You guys did awesome.
Yeah, thank you. No, I like to, Stone Ridge, I thought, the conditions, I think even Jeff mentioned it in his speech, the greens were probably the best I think we may have played this year, or at least that I've seen. And it was an awesome setup for the event. So glad everybody enjoyed it. Maybe some not one hole or the other, whatever you want to say, but overall it was a good event, and I'm glad we were able to get it done.
So what do you know about the Wilderness at Fortune Bay? Greg and I have played in events there. Have you been up there, and what are your thoughts about that for the host site next year?
I have not been there, but I am going there in the beginning part of October to kind of do a early look at it. Mm-hmm. So I don't really have many comments there, but it's exciting. I guess that it's more of a trip to get away. So it'd be kind of hopefully a little bit more camaraderie amongst everybody, and maybe we'll get some people to stay and be good that way. But I've not seen the course, so I can't really comment right now.
Greg, your thoughts? You played in the one at Wilderness, right?
Yeah, neither of you two know this, but that event changed the Snow's life. Scotty, I don't know if you've ever heard the full story of what happened to the Greg Snow family because of that event.
No.
And we don't have time today, so I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of I shot 96, and I was the biggest horse's rear end the entire round. Marty Lass was playing with me. I'll never forget it. Of the way I acted out there was beyond belief. And I remember I withdrew, which was one of the first and last tournaments I've ever withdrawn from. I did not play the second day. I drove back home, and my wife came into the room. I was bawling my eyes out at my house. And she's like, "What are you doing home?" And I said, "Babe, we need to talk." And we talked it out. And within 6 months, I was applying for the job at Olivia. We had changed our lifestyle, changed the way I viewed tournament golf, all because of that event. So the Wilderness holds a special place in my heart. And I'm not saying negatively. Negative things happened to me because of my own attitude that changed my life positively. It's actually a phenomenal I should write a book about it, because the things that happened leading up to us moving to Olivia, which, as you know, Scott, has been one of the greatest things in our lives, moving from what people view as one of the greatest places on earth, Brainerd, moving down here has been just a godsend for us. And so the Wilderness started all that. That's how poorly I played. And I think I parred the first hole too and still shot 90 something.
No, you didn't.
What was it? 98?
95. And there was a stretch from 7 through 11 that changed everything in your life. You went quad, double, quad, quintuple, double.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, you should have seen the clubs flying, Tone. It was unbelievable. The following year, I went up to Marty Lass the following year after I moved to Olivia, because Scott, I stopped playing in events. Remember that? When I moved to Olivia, I took about a 2-year break of very few to no events. And I went to Marty last and I said, Marty, I need to apologize to you for how I acted and how I behaved up there. And he looked at me and he goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay, you don't remember the little baby hissy fits I was throwing out there? And I'll quickly say, man, we are getting way too long here. But I remember thinking, I don't practice. I show up at these events and I expect to do better. What's wrong with you? How can you expect to be better than that when you put zero time into it and just think that you should go to these championships and be awesome? And so that day on the tailgate with you and I, Scotty, I've been there. I mean, an 81 for you is probably like a 95 for me. And I've been there. And it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that had to feel like 95 shooting 81 after you've been playing so well.
I don't know what it felt like, but it didn't feel well.
No.
Let's just put it that way.
But you have a great perspective, and you were able to kick through that way faster than it took me a 4-hour drive home. Tears flooded. I mean, it's probably way too personal of a story to get into here because I'll probably start crying again. But it was an unbelievable experience that I needed. I had to have that in order to change my life, and it did.
What else we want to touch base on? Tone, we haven't even talked about the State Open. A quick recap on the State Open, which I thought was a great event. My only concern is something's been lost on the leaderboard, and that's the golf professionals, because we're invaded by amateurs on this event. Oh my goodness. How many AMs were up there, and 3 of them tied for first. So talk maybe quick about that, Tone, because we haven't talked about it on the podcast. It was really exciting with a playoff for the championship.
Yeah, no, that was an awesome event to watch. I mean, so I was kind of there again with the last groups falling in, and that was constantly back and forth. Then we had, a pretty big crowd on that hill in Chaska on 18, kind of when all that drama happened when Derek Hitchner 3-putted on 18. I think he was, what was the winning score? 12 under?
12. Yep.
So he was 13 and he bogeyed 18. And then both Cecil and
Ben Grieve. Yeah,
he parred. Sorry, I'm spacing on names. But then when we had that playoff, it was just, we had the crowd falling, everybody on the hill on Chaska. So it was a good atmosphere, and we heard a lot of good things about that. The one thing, I attribute to, all our team is kind of the atmosphere we try to create at our events, kind of with that long drive at Chaska. We put the 5 past champions and around the clubhouse. We just did a lot of signage to make things feel special. So I'm just kind of glad that, we had good 3 days of competition for that, and could not be more proud to have Chaska on board and with all their team of what they did for that event. So it was very exciting. I know everybody enjoyed it who played it and was there.
Well, and we've had the women's State Open was at Minnesota Valley,
mm-hmm.
and Betsy Kelly, who's very instrumental with us at Ripstick. That was exciting for her to win, and it meant just a ton to her too. Yeah. So another great event. I mean, all these majors have happened in the last month. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about that, it's already September when we were, and we still got some majors and some events still to go, but it's, when you're talking about the State Open, to me, that feels like it was like 6 months ago, and it was like a month and a half. So a lot of stretch, in August, getting the 3 section champs, the senior, the regular, and the assistants done, the women's State Open, and then in the previous 2 months, the senior and the State Open. So, and Tate Mark throw in there. So just a lot going on, but it's been a pretty good season so far.
And who won this? Sorry, I'm blanking. Senior Club Pro, was that? Was it Tom?
Tom Vizina. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in a playoff with Don. So they did a 2-hole playoff there at New Richmond.
Yeah. So it's all of our, nobody's really well, other than the tape mark, which Angus won by 31 lengths like Secretariat at the Belmont, but other than that, all of our championships have been very closely contested. So
yeah, I call it the season of playoffs, because it seems like every event, leading into the state open, with all the qualifiers, and made jokes with our interns that we have how many playoffs, we never get through one of these without one. And it's only fitting that the state open finished with the playoff, and then, all these other events with them as well, or at least that they're close where we're thinking about it. So it's been some good golf to watch.
Well, Scotty, why don't you update us, because this is where you're good. This is your area. Update us on the Player of the Year points race, and what kind of movement we could expect to see with some events coming up. We know we got the Golf Champions that has points, and we have the Luther. I think the Luther is the last one. Is that correct? Or are those the two main ones left?
Yeah, and in the match play, there's some people that can still get points in the match play. Personally, I think they should let like the top 15 from last year's Golf Champions get in versus the top 10. Maybe there should be a petition somewhere.
Bring it up for 2022.
Why don't you ask for an exemption, Scotty?
We know what that's gonna rubber stamp. See ya.
I'd rubber stamp. No chance. Play better.
Yeah. So right now, Derek Holmes is leading Player of the Year race, 436 points. Jeff is in second at 374. Brent Snyder at 350, and Eric Childs at 345. So that's kind of your top four who is in the mix. I believe if none of those gentlemen are in the mix in the match play, so they're not going to get points for the match play. Golf Champions is worth, I think, 160 points if you win Golf Champions.
Yep.
And Luther Tour is roughly 60 to 70 points, depending on how many participants we get.
Scott, question. So
Yes.
if an AM wins Golf Champions, does the high pro get 160?
Nope. It's whatever place they finish. So it goes 160, and fifth place is probably 100 points. So it drops down pretty quickly. So Derek Holmes is in the driver's seat. Jeff, and Jeff's 62 points behind. So even if Jeff wins Luther Tour and Derek gets 0, they're tied. And that doesn't even throw in what happens at Golf Champions. So Brent and Childs are definitely in the discussion. I would say they're probably statistically the only other two that have a chance right now. It all depends on what happens in the Golf Champions and the Luther Tour Championship. So,
They're all concurrent days, correct? They run right into each other.
Yes, Golf Champions is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Luther Tour Championship is that Monday at Midland. So it's all going to be determined in that stretch, and maybe that might be a good time for our next podcast. Leading up to the Golf Champions, or maybe on site at Luther Tour Championship, which we've done before, Greg.
Yep, we have.
And we could maybe even do it afterwards and talk with the Player of the Year, because it will be determined on that day.
That's right. I like that idea.
I would throw this in as well. We were talking about this a couple days ago. A couple people who could potentially move up. 6th and 8th in the Player of the Year, Jesse Nelson, Derek Stendal, are both in the match plan. Their next match is actually against each other. So
that is true.
If one of those, obviously one of those is going to advance to the round of 4 and were to advance and win the match play and then do well, Luther Tour and Golf Champions, they could creep up there as well and catch Derek. It just depends on really how Derek plays in Golf Champions and Luther Tour.
Well, and that's a great point, Tone. As well, Don Barry is in the Final 4.
Yeah.
And Don Barry's at 234 points. But if he wins the match play, I believe that's 160.
Yeah.
So he would be at 394, which would actually put him in second place. So right now, even if he loses in the Final 4, I think he gets, 90 points?
I would have to double check, but it's still a good amount. Yeah,
70 or 90 points. So, and Jesse Nelson and Derek Stendal, if either of them win the, Jesse for sure. If Jesse wins the match play, he's actually in the lead for Player of the Year points.
Mm-hmm.
So it's So
it's going to be it's not. I mean, we've been tracking it all year, and it's going to be up in the air. you know.
So it's a 7-horse race, roughly.
Tone, when is that? When's the match play have to be completed?
We're finishing the match play on what is the date? The 29th of September, a Wednesday at Mendakota. So we are finishing there. It's in 4 weeks. We'll have it all done.
That's the Wednesday of the Ryder Cup, correct?
That's Ryder Cup week, yeah.
And the Golf Champions is during Ryder Cup?
Or I think Ryder Cup's the week before.
Okay.
That's the week
okay.
after. So that's the week of Golf Champions. Match play is the week of the Golf Champions, So it's So
we'll know the Player of the Year for sure on October 4th after the Luther Tour. So it's going to be 1 week of everything. I mean, it just depends on how close it is. But yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. And in addition, I'll just make a shout out on the 29th. In addition to our regular match play, we're also going to have the finals, semifinals, and finals for our women's match play championship as well. It's inaugural.
Who's alive in that?
Right now in the top 4, Savannah Smith is advancing, and we're waiting on a couple other matches. I know, Kelly Hoynes is still in it. She's waiting to complete her next match. Tomorrow we got a match between our own Catherine Wagner and Lori Money to advance to see who's going to actually play Kelly Hoynes. So,
okay.
It'd be exciting to have kind of both of those events go together, and we'll, determine some champions that day.
Wow. This is awesome. Who's left in the team championship? How close are we done with that in the 2-person deal?
The 4-ball?
Yeah, the 4-ball.
Tone knows better. I'm not in the 4-ball this year. Are any in the Final Four yet, Tone?
No, we don't have a Final Four yet. I mean,
okay.
In the first metro region, you got Campbell, Raichi, Hemans, and Kirkland going at it. I don't know all these on the top of my head, but
okay, it's all right. Hey, it sounds like we have still some time between now and then with that. And there is no points in those, correct, men?
No,
there are no points, but I will say that the past champs are not in there. So it could be a new champions for 4-ball as well, depending on how that works out.
That's just straight cash. Again, that's not a big deal. We're talking about the points. All right. Well, that's awesome. You guys summed it up nicely. We do have a nice Tone. I hope you have a nice week break here, right? Really no events.
Going to South Dakota.
Yeah, I have a little break, and then next week I go to South Dakota for about 5-6 days. So I stay over there and
you're working the Sanford?
Yeah, I run the 2 qualifiers for them, and
okay, I
kind of stay over there and try to see everybody over there and see what's going on. So
it's one of my favorite golf courses that I've never played, by the way. I'll throw my plug in right now, Tone. I really wanted a section event over there at this course. It's beyond belief, and Sioux Falls area is great. I'm still hoping that someday we can come to our senses and get over there and play an event there. But Scott, you know how I feel about that. I'm just going to throw it out there. I got a platform. I'm going to say it. All right.
I totally agree with you that it's a great venue and it's a great part of the Minnesota section. It's just, we know how poor some of our people travel. And that's my biggest concern with the Wilderness is you and I don't have issues because we have to stay wherever we go, but it's the people from the metro that are in the bubble that are afraid to drive and be gone for 2 days. And I agree with you, Tone. The best part about Wilderness is going to be the camaraderie. And because there isn't going to be anybody that's driving in and driving home. It's just too far. Everybody's going to be there. It's a great feel when everyone's there and you get to see them at night, the day before round 1 and in between rounds 1 and 2. So I think that's very important for us to get together and to build those relationships.
Yeah, I agree. And is there a pro scheduled for their, Tone, or have we not looked that far yet?
Yeah, we are planning on doing the pro on that Sunday and then the event Monday, Tuesday. So that will make it return this year.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. And we know we had extenuating circumstances this year that kind of, I think that you could feel it this year, right, Scotty? That it just, nobody's fault. Stoners is a great venue. It just didn't feel, because you're right. I went and stayed with my in-laws. Everybody has relatives in the cities, right? So they go stay there, saving the little hotel room, or some guys get hotel room and then they stayed out later than they should. But it just didn't feel like what that will up at the Wilderness, where we're going to all be around each other, and the banquet, you'll hang around longer,
Yes.
The banquet, it seemed like everybody left right away, right? Like you and I were the last. Let's go to the tailgate and figure out why you shot 81. Where next year we're going to sit around maybe a blackjack table and say, Snow, why'd you shoot 95 again? Because I'm not leaving. If
You are
95.
not shooting 95 again.
No, if I do, I said, if.
You won't.
But we're going to have a therapy session if I do, at some point, and it's okay. It's not a big deal. Guys, we need to close this out today. We're going to skip the rules of the game. We'll get that next time. Kaylee, thank you for all your work on this. Tone, great podcast. I really love talking about tournament golf, and we didn't get interrupted by Meals or Bees and or Charlie, so that was a good thing, right? They didn't come out and bother you, Scott?
Nope. Susanna looked at us a couple of times like, what are you doing?
Okay.
But that
Got
was
any,
the end of it.
any closing comments?
No, just hats off to section staff. Tone, you're through the woods. The home stretch is in sight. I know how busy June, July, August is. So great work. You actually look refreshed. Did you have a spa day?
I've been getting some sleep the last couple days.
You can definitely tell Tone's been outside.
Yes, but no, thanks. I thought all the events that I've played in this year have been great. So good work on that.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for all you do. Hope you all have a great day. And thank you all for listening. And we'll come back at you again in a few weeks.